This recording is my experience under CID investigation for my participation in GRAP in 2006 and 2007. Now, up front, these statements are my own, and I do not represent the National Guard or the unit that I currently serve in. My story is long and it's complex, and it spans the last 9 years, and I'm simply not going to be able to cover everything. But I am going to cover a few highlights, and what I really hope is that my story brings awareness to the devastating impacts that this process has had on hundreds of soldiers and officers' careers, as well as the negative impacts to our mental and emotional fitness. Now, my process started in 2013 when CID was tasked to investigate my participation in GRAP, and it ended in November of 2022, so 9 years. In November of 2022, CID conducted a final review of my case and determined there was no evidence against me. I should not have been titled, and they removed my name and information from their system as well as the FBI's criminal system. The information that had been in those two systems for years was that I had been arrested and charged with fraud against the government. And I think it's important to note that neither of those things ever happened. Neither of those things are true. When CID began their investigation for me, I was a major. I had just returned from Afghanistan, where I had served as a Battalion S3, and that was my third overseas deployment. The CID agent who was assigned to my case took 2 years and 2 months to complete his investigation. During that time, I was flagged the entire time. His investigation included 0 written or recorded witness statements, and in fact included summaries that he had written of his interviews with persons that I had assisted into the Guard, in which he was refuting most of the information that they were giving him about my assisting them into the Guard. Additionally, he had interviewed me twice, asking me the exact same questions both times, and attempted to interview me a third time, telling me that he had lost the interview information. I declined a third interview based on legal guidance I had at the time. Based on this very subpar investigation that he had put together, it was determined that I had committed fraud and was titled in the CID system. This titling in the CID system sent my career into an administrative tailspin. I was subjected to multiple promotion review boards from 2016 until December of 2019. In December of 19, I was finally exonerated from all wrongdoing by the Secretary of Defense, which required multiple appeals. Although I was cleared of wrongdoing by the Secretary of Defense, I remained titled in the CID system until November of 2022. It is really important to remember that during this process, the CID investigation, as well as some of the administrative process, I was flagged for 5.5 years. I was flagged. My career, my reputation, my integrity were all in question for 5.5 years. Never at any point was there a way for me to get information on the status of the investigation or the administrative review process. There was no reasonable expectation of due process. Please consider how difficult it was to bear the weight of that scrutiny for that amount of time while having committed no crime. During this time, while I was flagged, I completed battalion command. I remained a major through that command because I was flagged and unable to promote, and I still serve today. In fact, next month I take brigade command. The only reason I bring this up, because people may look at my career and say, it really didn't impact your career's been restored, you're going to be promoted again. That's not really the case. It did impact my career, and the only way that my career survived this debacle is that I had a tremendous support system, both in the organization that I worked in and my family. And I showed up every day confident in that support system and gave 100% and did not allow this process to derail me and affect my attitude, my reputation, my work ethic. But behind the scenes of that, I spent thousands of dollars in legal fees, and this process created self-doubt, anxiety, fear, anger, moral injury. I had to seek counseling, all due to a lack of basic constitutional rights like due process and the presumption of innocence until proven guilty. Please take the time to listen to other victims' stories. Victims of this process are asking for these investigations to end and for honest soldiers' names to be cleared and their careers to be restored. We are asking for those responsible for this disaster to be held accountable. Simply put, we are asking for the core values that this organization stands for to be upheld.